Sandra's Heart Tale Part 5 by Amah. The holiday break was almost coming to an end when I packed my belongings to my father's house. It was not a problem. My father was happy to receive me and help me unpack my things. His wife was still in her usual self, but I did not intend to stay in this time. His place was the only option I had at that moment. After packing in my belongings that day, the following day I picked few of my things and went back to my hostel. I stayed in my hostel until the full resumption of school. My mother was going through a lot of stress and trauma. She lives in the house like a stranger, not as husband and wife. My stepdad would sometimes travel out of town and stay up to a month. He come home weekend to see his two boys since I was out of the house and Lucia was in school. My brother was also noticed my stepdad behavior and how he was treating my mom. They saw that my mom wasn't happy. She was only looking worried and sad. Even when she was sick and got admitted in the hospital, my stepdad did not care or if she exists or not. There was a time my mom became so sick. The sickness lasted for some time. She was mostly in the hospital getting treatment. My stepdad never cares, which was well expected. He leaves the house and stay out for weeks before coming back. After my mother recovered from the illness, she don't need to be told again that it was time to move on. She knew it was high time to pack out of that house. She has suffered for years for the sins of her past. She has endured and kept hoping that my dad would forgive and come back to his normal self. But my stepdad gets worse with each passing day. His words were harsh and cut deep like fresh wound. His silence was another battle that my mom tried to live with. After my stepfather revealed all my mom's secrets, she tried to apologize to him, to speak to him, to explain herself to him, to ask for his forgiveness. But my stepfather did not give her that chance. He did not allow her to even sit close to him or hear what she has to say. She was done with all the torture and decided to move out for some time. Maybe my stepfather will come to reasoning and maybe want her back. My mother rented a place of her own within the town and moved in. She left my two brothers who were still in secondary school and can take care of themselves. She left them in the care of my stepfather because they were old enough to decide for themselves if they want to stay or leave. And they can always visit her whenever they wish. She can also visit them. Usha was also informed about my mom's moving out. She wasn't happy with the news, but she understands that my mom have suffered for years. She was suffering in silence and smiling in public because my stepfather made living a hell for her. We accepted the change as it came and was ready to live with it. I gathered up my savings. I gave my mom, and she added it with her own personal money and opened a provision store. Her provision store, which consists of different types of beverage, was not far from her rented apartment. My kid brothers do visit her mostly during weekend. My mother had peace of mind for the first time in many years. She continued managing with her small business, which kept her going and occupied her mind from thinking too much. Over at my side, school was ongoing. Everything was moving on fine. I later went into a relationship. My boyfriend has been asking me out for some time and was persistent. I decided to give him a chance. It will be my first relationship and I was positive that it would turn out great. He was very loving and was a biochemistry, which was also what he read in school. He was a biochemist, which was also what he read in school before graduating. He showered me with so much love and gradually I fell in love with him too. I became madly in love with him and would sometimes visit him in his apartment. He was nice, jovial, handsome. During my birthday, he bought gifts for me and took me and my sister Lucia out to have some fun. My dad also called and brought gifts for me. It was a great moment that I wish it would not end. I always call my mom to check up on her, and she would assure me that she was doing great. My boyfriend was everything I needed in a man, maybe because I love him too much and did not see any other fault in him. He was the very first man in my life. I have not been in a relationship before, and experiencing a love life with him makes me happy. He was smart, brilliant, caring, and a good looking guy. As the relationship advanced, I began to notice something about my man. He loves women and easily gets carried away with anything in skirt. I began to also notice that while in school, girls to come to spend weekend with him in his apartment. Different girls usually visit him while I'm away. Whenever I'm with my boyfriend, his phone will be ringing constantly. He started putting his phone on silent mode just so it won't ring out. Everything about him became suspicious and I began to feel uncomfortable in the relationship. One day while I was in the apartment, my boyfriend had a visitor. His male friend came around. Later, when the guy that visited was about to leave, my boyfriend decided to send him off. He left his phone in the house where I was charging mine too. It was unlike him to leave the phone behind. He usually go everywhere with his phone, and if he happens to leave it for some minutes, it will be on password. He probably felt confidence in leaving the phone because it has password and I don't know what it was. Immediately he stepped out. I went to where the phone was plugged and tried to unlock it, but none of the password I used opened the phone. His date of birth came to my mind and immediately I tried it. The phone unlocked. I was even surprised that it worked. I began to go through his pictures and messages. I saw different love messages and chats from numerous girls. The painful one was his chat with his supposed baby mama. I never knew he had a child. Despite how long we have stayed, he had never mentioned to me that he has a child. He had hidden everything from me and assured me that there was no other woman in his life, that I was the only one in his life. He has no business with other women. He told me before that he was open like the palm of his hand and would never hold any secret from me. I believe whatever he says because I was deeply in love with him. But everything changed in that second as I went through his phone and began to discover other relationship he was having with other girls. None of that was as painful as the fact that he has a baby mama and was still very much in touch with her. I quickly copied some of those messages and forwarded to my phone. I felt so bitter and stupid to have given all myself to him. I thought he deserved it all. I never knew that he doesn't want it. I deeply felt hurt and felt so broken. When I noticed him coming, I quickly plugged his phone and pretend it's nothing happened. He came in and tried to touch me, but I carefully cautioned him. He was surprised that I was acting all cold all of a sudden. He asked me what was wrong. I told him I wasn't feeling too well. I think I was having little fever. All I wanted to do was just to leave the house far away from him. He said he would get me drugs. I will feel alright, and I told him I wanted to leave. I can't stay. I need to return back to my hostel and take enough rest before any drug. He tried to convince me to stay, but I was already at the door. He couldn't talk me out of leaving. When I returned home, I couldn't sleep nor eat anything. I kept thinking of the whole thing. I was too shocked of what I discovered about my boyfriend. For days going to weeks, I was not myself. I made a decision to end the relationship. It was a tough decision and was very difficult for me, but I had to. He kept pleading and kept asking what he did or what exactly was the offense. I decided to tell him everything I discovered. I asked him why he would keep such a sensitive thing concerning his baby mama and his child away from me. I was open to him. He was my first man. I gave him myself because of the kind of love I have for him. What else was he looking for in other girls? I knew he has been cheating on me for some time, which I tried to overlook for the sake of love. But I can't overlook all the lies. If he had mentioned about having a child in the beginning of the relationship, I wouldn't have mind. But for me to discover that he has a deep secret which he was hiding all this while makes me doubt everything he has ever said. And I can't be in a relationship with a man who likes everything in skirt and keeps secret from one he claims to love. He tried to lie again, pretending as if he doesn't understand what I was talking about. I brought out my phone and showed him the messages that I copied from his phone to mine. He was speechless and began to apologize. He said he was sorry, but I was done with him for good. He tried to get me back through different means, but my heart and mind was out of the relationship. He called Lucia, my sister, to plead on his behalf, but after I told Lucia what he did and why I would not change my mind, Lucia agreed with me. It was a very sad moment which almost affected my studies because I couldn't concentrate anymore. I wasn't taking his call, but one day while I was in my room thinking to myself and wishing for many old days that I shared with him, as I was there, he called again. I suddenly felt nauseous. I felt like vomiting. I felt like throwing up. I wasn't feeling so strong. I knew something was not right. He kept calling. I sat on my phone as the phone kept ringing because he was the first man in my life because I gave him all my heart. I really don't know, but I have to decide if I really want to move on or take his call, forgive him or leave it, whatever I see, which include his baby mama and his womanizing nature. It was a tough decision to make. I have to make it quick before I will break down completely. But the feeling I kept having, the constant vomiting, the way I felt so nauseated, I was not feeling so fine. I became so worried. I was deeply worried with myself. What could be wrong with me? Find out more from part 6 of Sandra's Heart Tell by Amah's Heart.